What if everything you thought you knew about someone you admired, maybe even idolized, was a lie? What if behind the carefully curated smiles, the public appearances, and the flawless red carpet moments, there existed a side of them that the world had never seen? Meghan Markle, the woman the tabloids have spent years dissecting, revealing, and misrepresenting, is about to have one of her most private stories exposed. And the person holding the key is someone you probably haven't heard enough about, Markus Anderson. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. You've seen the headlines. You've read the countless articles claiming to know the truth about Meghan Markle. But there is a layer beneath the media frenzy, a layer that only a few people have ever glimpsed. Markus Anderson, a man whose name rarely appeared in public conversations about Meghan, has finally decided to speak. And what he is about to reveal is not just surprising. It's shocking. It's intimate. It's a side of Meghan that contradicts nearly everything the public believes. The Meghan Markle that Markus knew was private, personal, and profoundly human. And what he tells the world could change how we all view her. From the very beginning, Meghan has been a study in contrasts. To the public, she's polished, composed, even untouchable at times. To the media, she's either a fairy tale princess or a controversial figure, depending on the day and the headline. But to Markus, she was simply a woman who knew how to protect her privacy fiercely, who valued trust in a way few people understand. She was intimate in ways that were never meant for public consumption. She revealed parts of herself cautiously, selectively. And when Markus was finally able to speak, he revealed that those moments were far more telling than any public appearance, any speech, or any photo ever could be. You might be wondering, why now? Why would Markus wait until this point to reveal these private interactions? The answer is complex, but it speaks to the immense pressure that comes with fame. Some secrets are kept not out of shame, but out of loyalty. Some truths remain buried because the moment is never right. Markus says he waited because he wanted to protect her, to respect boundaries, but also because he needed time to understand the full scope of what he knew. And now, the world has changed, the stakes are higher, and the story needs to be told. Imagine, for a moment, what it means to live a life under constant scrutiny. Every action, every word, every glance is analyzed, edited, and broadcast. Privacy becomes a rare commodity, and trust becomes a currency more valuable than gold. Markus's account offers a glimpse into the hidden world that Meghan navigated with caution, elegance, and, at times, trepidation. What he saw was a woman who was fiercely protective of her inner life, someone who only allowed a select few to witness her authentic self. And it's that authenticity, that raw humanity, that has never been fully captured by the press. Markus recalls countless moments where Meghan let her guard down, brief moments that revealed vulnerability, humor, and sincerity. These weren't casual acquaintances or fleeting encounters. They were instances of genuine connection. She spoke of her dreams, her fears, her doubts, and her hopes. She laughed freely, without worrying about who might be watching. And in those moments, she was profoundly herself. But even in her openness, there was caution. Markus tells of how she would often stop, reflect, and consider the implications of revealing even small parts of her private life. The level of thought she put into protecting her privacy was extraordinary, and it was in these private moments that Markus discovered a side of Meghan that very few people have ever seen. The story isn't just about intimacy or private conversations. It's about trust. Markus emphasizes how careful Meghan was with whom she allowed into her inner world. This wasn't secrecy for secrecy's sake. It was intentional, deliberate protection of a part of herself that she knew could never be fully understood or appreciated by the public. And yet, she chose Markus as someone she could confide in. That choice alone speaks volumes about the relationship they shared and the significance of the moments he would later recount to the world. It's also a story about contradictions. Publicly, Meghan has been scrutinized for her decisions, her friendships, and even her expressions of emotion. Privately, according to Markus, she was thoughtful, reflective, and deeply empathetic. The contrast between the public perception and the private reality is striking. It raises questions not just about Meghan herself, but about the way society perceives people in the public eye. How much of what we think we know is actually a projection? How much is constructed by narrative rather than lived experience? Markus's revelations are significant because they humanize someone who has often been reduced to headlines. They show a woman who is not simply a celebrity or a figure of public fascination, but a real person with complexities, contradictions, and private experiences that shape her identity. They reveal a side of Meghan that is rarely acknowledged, the intimate, personal, private side that only a handful of people have ever been permitted to see. And these revelations are not just fascinating. They are transformative. They challenge the audience to reconsider everything they think they know about Meghan Markle. And yet, Markus's story is not just about Meghan. It's also about him. It's about the weight of holding someone's secrets, the moral responsibility of knowing intimate truths, and the delicate balance between loyalty and disclosure. Speaking out is not easy. It's fraught with risk, scrutiny, and potential backlash. Markus knew that revealing his experiences could invite public criticism, misinterpretation, and even controversy. But he also recognized that the truth, in its most raw and authentic form, deserves to be told. He recognized that Meghan's story, in her private moments, has value, not just for those who know her, but for the world that has followed her every move. So why should you care? Why does this matter? Because it's not just a celebrity story. It's a story about human connection, trust, and the lengths people go to protect the parts of themselves that are most vulnerable. It's a story about how private moments, when revealed, can illuminate truths that are otherwise invisible. It's a story that challenges the assumptions we make about people based on appearances, headlines, or social media profiles. And it's a story that shows how even the most public figures navigate the same complexities of relationships, trust, and privacy that the rest of us do, albeit under an extraordinary spotlight. By now, you might be asking yourself, what exactly did Markus reveal? What are these moments that were so private, so intimate, and so significant that they could alter the way we view Meghan Markle? What does it mean for her public persona, her personal life, and the narrative that the media has constructed around her? The answers are layered, emotional, and at times, shocking. And while we will get to them, the story begins with understanding the foundation, the trust, the connection, and the private world that existed between Markus and Meghan before the world even knew her name. And just when it seems like you're getting a grasp on this story, here's the part that will make you pause. Markus didn't reveal everything at once. He carefully paced his account, offering fragments, teasing insights, and hinting at truths that he would fully disclose only later. The suspense, the anticipation, and the gradual unfolding of what he knew is what makes this story so compelling. It's not just the content of the revelations. It's the tension, the timing, and the emotional stakes that keep you on edge, wondering what comes next. And that, right there, is where the first cliffhanger hits. Because even in the introduction, even before we dive into the specific moments, we see the pattern, a private, intimate connection, a careful withholding of truth, and the promise of revelations that will shock, surprise, and challenge your assumptions. Markus's account is a story of human complexity, of secrecy, of trust, and of disclosure. And as we move forward into the main chapters, you'll witness moments that are startling, moments that are deeply human, and moments that no one saw coming. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Have you ever met someone whose public image feels like a mask, and then you see a glimpse of what's underneath, and it completely shatters your assumptions? That was Meghan Markle, at least the Meghan Markus knew. The world saw a confident, polished, public figure. Headlines painted her as a princess, a style icon, a modern media magnet. But behind closed doors, she was something completely different. Vulnerable, reflective, private, and at times, surprisingly intimate. From the very first moments Markus met her, he sensed it. There was a carefulness in her voice, a pause in her laughter, an almost imperceptible weighing of words. It wasn't insecurity. It was strategy. She guarded her private self fiercely, not because she had something to hide, but because she understood instinctively the cost of exposure. Every gesture, every glance, every disclosure had consequences, not for her, but for the people who cared about her. Markus recalls the first time he realized just how private she was. It was a quiet evening, unremarkable on the surface, yet the tension was palpable. They were in a small, cozy setting, far away from cameras, far away from the glare of public attention. It should have been casual, ordinary even. But Markus noticed her subtle hesitations, the way she scanned the room before speaking, the way her tone shifted depending on the topic. And in that moment, he understood. There was a Meghan the world would never see, a Meghan she protected like a treasure. The contrast between the public Meghan and the private Meghan is astonishing. To the media, she was a headline generator. Every smile, every gesture, every outfit became news. But Markus saw something that wasn't broadcasted. He saw quiet laughter that didn't make it to social media. He saw conversations where Meghan spoke freely about fears, frustrations, and even regrets. She wasn't performing. She wasn't shaping a narrative. She was just herself. And that self was rare, almost startling in its authenticity. What's fascinating, and what many people don't understand, is how deliberate her privacy was. She wasn't evasive for the sake of drama or to fuel public fascination. She was cautious because she knew what intimacy meant. Sharing personal moments wasn't casual. It was a calculated risk. She gave people parts of herself selectively, carefully, and with intent. Markus was one of the very few who got to see that layer. But there's more. Markus tells of moments that, at first glance, seemed mundane, almost trivial. A comment about a childhood memory. A story about a friend. A reflection on a mistake. Yet, within these seemingly ordinary exchanges, there were signs of a deep, private world. Each anecdote revealed not only her intellect, but also her emotional depth. Her capacity to feel, to analyze, to reflect, things the world rarely acknowledged. And these were moments Markus would later realize were priceless. What made her private nature even more compelling was the way it contrasted with her public life. To millions, Meghan seemed fearless, almost untouchable. But Markus observed vulnerability, moments of doubt, moments where she questioned her choices and worried about the perception of others. These glimpses didn't weaken her, they humanized her. They revealed a person grappling with fame, responsibility, and identity in ways that the public simply couldn't imagine. Markus also recalls the humor, quiet, understated, yet sharp. It wasn't the kind of humor designed for applause or media attention. It was personal, often self-deprecating, sometimes ironic, sometimes playful. It was a humor shared in private, in moments where she let her guard down. And in those moments, Markus saw something that the public never would. A Meghan who could be completely herself, unapologetically human, without needing to perform or protect a public image. But even in her openness, there was caution. Markus noticed that she rarely overshared, even in private conversations. She would pause, measure her words, and assess whether what she revealed could be trusted, whether it could be understood. She valued discretion, not as a tool for manipulation, but as a shield to preserve what was most important. And this carefulness was not just about protecting herself. It was about protecting the people around her. Anyone who gained access to her private world carried a responsibility. A responsibility Markus came to understand more deeply than he ever expected. Perhaps the most surprising part of these early moments was how much Markus realized he could not predict. Meghan was full of contradictions. She could be warm and open, then suddenly guarded. She could laugh freely, then retreat into introspection. She could exude confidence publicly while quietly doubting her every move in private. Markus learned early that assumptions were dangerous. Public appearances, social media posts, and headlines told one story. His private experiences told another. And the truth, raw, human, intimate, was far more nuanced than anyone could guess. Markus also recalls an incident that, at the time, seemed minor but would later take on enormous significance. It was a simple conversation about choices, trust, and personal boundaries. Meghan shared a story about a decision she had made, a private choice that could have been misunderstood if taken out of context. She spoke with clarity and vulnerability, revealing not just the decision but the reasoning behind it. Markus was struck by the depth of reflection, by her awareness of consequence. It was not a confession in the dramatic sense, but it was intimate, revealing, and profoundly human.